All right, guys, let's do a little marginal analysis practice. Down in the description below, you can find a link to this worksheet if you want to follow along. And I highly suggest if you didn't watch the previous video that gives you the data you need for this worksheet, do that first before checking out this one. All right, so the first question is all about what I went through in my last video. I was going over the diminishing marginal returns of scoops of peanut butter that I was eating. So this is the data that we got from that video, and you guys could have put into your worksheet as you went along with it. So let's see what we can do answering these questions. What was my total utility after consuming 4 spoonfuls of peanut butter? Okay, so we're looking for total utility in this particular question. So you got to look at the total utility column. That's all the marginal utility up until that point added together. So at 4 scoops of peanut butter, my total utility was 75 utils. Now B asks what the marginal utility was from consuming my 6th scoop of peanut butter. All right, so we got to look at the 6th scoop, and we're looking at marginal utility, not total in this case. Those are very, very big things to differentiate when you're answering questions. Okay, so in this case, 0 utils. That was that point of indifference where it didn't really matter if I ate it or not. Now, when should I stop consuming spoonfuls of peanut butter? All right, according to this, because in this case, I paid $4.99 for that jar of peanut butter, and I wasn't getting that money back. So each additional scoop didn't cost me anything. At that point, I just had to consider each scoop as 0. So as I kept consuming, I would consume up until the point where the marginal benefit is the last time it's greater than, or the situation where it's equal to marginal cost. In this case, there was a situation where marginal benefit equaled marginal cost, and we make the assumption that the optimizing individual will consume that unit. So in this case, 6 spoonfuls. D, after the first spoonful, why don't I consider the cost of the jar of peanut butter? In this case, I don't consider the cost because once you've opened that jar of peanut butter, started to eat it, it's considered a sunk cost. There's a lot of situations in life where sunk costs need to be ignored. So the cost of peanut butter is a sunk cost after it's open. All right, next one. Now in this one, all the data here is right in this question here. So Mary loves chocolate and derives a great deal of utility from consuming it. The table below shows the total utility Mary receives after consuming each chocolate bar. Use the available data to complete the table. Then answer the following questions. So the utility in this situation is looked at in terms of dollars. Okay, so she consumes her first chocolate bar, she gets 20 units of utility. Okay, we're considering that $20 of utility in this case. So her total utility is at 20, her marginal utility is at 20. Now remember, marginal utility is just the change in total utility. As she consumes her second one, it's 17 because she went from 20 to 37 in her total. Sometimes questions pop up to have you answer that. All right, from 30 on her third candy bar, she goes from 37 to 49, she increases by 12. On her 4th candy bar, she increases by 10. On her 5th candy bar, 7, 5, 3. And then finally on her 8th candy bar, she's at that point of indifference where eating that candy bar gives her no satisfaction at all, but it's also not a negative. Her 9th candy bar actually takes utility away, and her 10th candy bar takes even more away. Okay, so we're seeing the diminishing returns into the negative returns. Solving the marginal utility isn't that difficult. It's just the change in total utility as we go down. So let's answer these questions. What was Mary's total utility after consuming 6 chocolate bars? All right, we look at 6. Total utility, 71. B, what was Mary's marginal utility from her 9th chocolate bar? So we look down at 9. Remember, it's marginal utility. So we look at that right column right there. It was -4. When is Mary's marginal utility the highest? In this case, we know because of diminishing marginal utility, the first unit is always going to have the highest amount. So, and it's going to diminish from that point on down. So the first bar, diminishing utility occurs. That's why it's always the highest. If chocolate bars are free, when should Mary stop consuming chocolate bars? So here we want to go back to that marginal benefit is greater than or equal to marginal cost. So if chocolate bars are free, we are going to consume until the marginal benefit is 0, or the last point that marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. In this case, we do have a point where it's at 0, so Mary should consume up until 8 candy bars, and including the 8th candy bar. So the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. Now E, if chocolate bars instead cost $6 each, how many should Mary purchase? Explain. Now, so in this case, our marginal cost then would be $6 each. So we would consume up until the point where it gives us $6 in satisfaction. We do not have a point on this table where it gives us $6 in satisfaction, so we're going to use the last point that is actually greater than. In that case, it would be 5 chocolate bars. She gets $7 worth of satisfaction. Marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. If we would go down to the 6, she's only getting $5 in satisfaction, so it's not worth it. So 5 bars, it's the last bar where the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost. All right, that sums it up for this assignment. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out, especially if you're in micro this year, check out the consumer choice video I got coming up next. And take care, guys, and thanks for watching.